Welcome back everyone, and now over the last couple of days markets have been reacting to one thing, and surprisingly it's actually not crypto. So it's been the growing tensions between the US and Iran. Now today I'm going to explain exactly what happened, why Bitcoin has actually been holding up better than expected, and what you guys should be watching over the coming days. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Now let's get into the biggest story for today. Now over the last couple of days, tensions between the United States and Iran have actually increased again, like we saw previously last week. Now this time it's with new military developments causing investors to actually worry that the conflict could spread further across the region. Now whenever geopolitical risk actually happens, then the markets hate uncertainty like we've seen in the past. Now investors don't necessarily know what will happen next, so the first reaction is actually to reduce the risk. And that's exactly what's happened. Stocks sold off, volatility increased, and crypto also dropped initially. But here's the interesting part. The interesting part is that instead of continuing lower, markets actually recovered fairly quickly. And that tells us that investors currently believe there is likely to remain a contained conflict rather than turning into something much larger like we've seen in previous weeks. And now the biggest winner from all of this has actually been oil. Now whenever tensions actually rise in the Middle East, then the traders immediately start worrying about the oil supply because of so much energy that passes through this region. So obviously higher oil prices matter because they keep the inflation higher for longer. And when, of course, inflation stays elevated, the Federal Reserve is less likely to actually cut the interest rates. And this is also important because crypto generally performs best when liquidity is actually improving. And we've actually seen the correlation between the two. As oil rises, crypto begins to fall. So it's the kind of same balance that we have. Now let's talk about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin initially sold off with the rest of the market, which is exactly what you'd expect. Now buyers actually stepped in surprisingly quickly, and instead of seeing panic selling, Bitcoin has actually managed to hold its key support levels. So to me, that's actually one of the biggest takeaways from the past few days, so that the market is actually showing some resilience. Now Ethereum has actually followed Bitcoin very nicely. But once you move further down the risk curve into smaller altcoins, that's where you've actually seen more weaknesses. And that is completely normal. So whenever uncertainty increases, money tends to rotate into Bitcoin because it's viewed as the safest asset in crypto. And you can see how dominant Bitcoin has been. So now, what are the markets actually watching right now? There's really four things. So the firstly being every new headline coming out of the US and Iran situation. Secondly would be the oil prices. Thirdly, what those higher energy prices could mean for inflation and future Federal Reserve decisions. And then finally, whether Bitcoin continues holding these important levels. So that's really the key drivers that we have at the moment. So overall right now, the markets are pricing in a fairly optimistic scenario that this conflict remains relatively contained. And if that case happens, then crypto can actually continue consolidating and potentially resume its uptrend in the near future. Now, however, if we actually start to see major disruptions of obviously a global oil supply or a much broader regional conflict, then risk assets like crypto would almost certainly come under pressure again, like we've seen. So this actually is definitely one of those situations where every single headline actually does come into play. Now, just before I let you guys go, we have an amazing opportunity on Everdex where you can actually get yourself a very nice funded account. So with a 50 USDT entry, you get a 1.5k account with 0% profit share, instant payout, no challenges, nothing like that. Very, very nice. There's also courses on there. There's copy trading, AI trading, many things to trade from crypto to stocks. Obviously, we have Forex coming soon, so I'm very excited for that. And if you guys are looking for a very nice platform to use, then check that link down in the description below, where you can also win some very nice prizes like iPhones, AirPods, and Apple Watches. So definitely check that link down below. So overall, despite everything that's happened over these past couple of days, I would actually say that crypto has handled the situation remarkably well. Bitcoin continues to look like the strongest asset in the space, and institutions actually don't appear to be panic selling. And for now, the market is actually treating this as a geopolitical risk and not a financial crisis. Now, as always, I will continue monitoring the situation and keep you guys updated with all the latest developments. So if you found this breakdown useful, then don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.